All right, so this is day 2 of lesson 9.1. And so this is your title. And here are some of the notes that should be at the top of your lesson for 9.1. And we're going to start with example 5 for day 2. And copy down this example. Okay, before we can do this, we need to look at factoring some of these things. So I see two different things that can be factored here. The numerator on the second one can be factored, and the denominator on the second one can be factored. So I'm going to just rewrite this first fraction. K minus 3 over k plus 1. Multiplying, we just need to multiply straight across, but we have to factor that top one. And that can be factored. It's one of those special factors. A squared minus b squared is a plus b, a minus b. So we have 1 squared minus k squared. So it would be 1 plus k, 1 minus k. And then in the denominator, we'd have to think about our t-chart. What adds to negative 4, but multiplies to 3? Well, that would have to be 1 times 3, and they would both need to be negative. Okay, then we can multiply straight across, so we put everything together. And actually, this step you'll end up doing in your head, but I just want to show you one time through doing it the full way. So that's what it would look like when you multiply them together. You'd put everything next to each other. Then you can start canceling some things out. So I see a k minus 3 and a k minus 3. A k plus 1 and a k plus 1. Now the other two look very close, but they are not quite the same. So if we were to multiply, if we were to take out a negative 1 out of this top one, so let's change this to distribute out a negative 1, we would get negative 1 plus k. Now those two match. And the only thing that was left is that negative 1. So this, all of that expression just equals negative 1. Okay, let's try another one. Copy this problem down, but this time now we're dividing. So we copy down the first. Dividing is multiplying by the reciprocal, so you change it to multiplying, and then you flip the second fraction. So something you can say to yourself over and over again is dividing is copy, change, flip. Copy the first fraction, change it to multiplying, flip the second fraction. All right, let's see what we can factor here. The first numerator, I see this has a 2 in common, so I'm going to pull out a 2 and parentheses what's left over, d plus 3. Okay, down below it in the denominator, this one's going to need a t-chart if we can do it. So d and d, and it'd have to be 2 times 1 to make 2, but it's got to be negative 2, so one of them has to be negative, and the 1 would have to be negative, and the 2 has to be positive. So I did that part, that's done. The numerator on the second one, again, do a t-chart. You have to multiply to get 2 again, so that's going to be 1 and 2. But we have to add to get 3, so they're both positive. That one done. Okay, so like I said last time, I wrote it all out, but we can start to see that anything from the top can cancel anything from the bottom. So I see a d plus 3 and a d plus 3. I see a d plus 2 and a d plus 2. And that's it. You can't do a d plus 1 and a d minus 1. Even if we took out a negative 1 out of here, just showing you for an example, if I took out a negative 1, it would get negative d plus 1. That's still not the same, so that doesn't help us at all. So what's left over then? In the numerator, we have a 2 and a d plus 1. And then in the denominator, we just have a d minus 1. And you could write your answer like that, or the answer may be given as a 2 distributed in. On your homework, I'm fine with you doing it the first way here. But you have to recognize that on a test, it may possibly be given the other way as well. Okay, now go over to your left page, and here's a clicker question. Go ahead and hit pause, and make sure you write down what the answer is, A, B, C, or D. And then here's a second clicker question. So go ahead and hit pause and try this one out on your own. Okay, example 6. So we've got this problem. And we've got a complex fraction here. What we really have is one fraction divided by another fraction. And so we just did that problem in example 5, a fraction divided by a fraction. What we need to do is copy, change, flip. Now one thing to look for here is that there is a darker fraction bar right here. When you're drawing it, it's almost easier just to make it a longer fraction bar so that you can see that that is one fraction divided by the other fraction. So let's rewrite this. X squared, the first one we just copy it down, divided by 9x squared minus 4y squared. Change it to multiplying, and then we're going to have to flip this fraction over. 2y minus 3x over x cubed. Okay, so then we have to find if we can factor anything, and I do see that we can factor the denominator on the first fraction. Again, this is in the form of a squared minus b squared. This one's a little harder to see, but 9 is really 3 squared, and then it's x squared. 4 is 2 squared, and y is squared there. So we can rewrite this as 3x minus 2y, or I'm sorry, plus 2y, and then 3x minus 2y. Okay, so then we can look to see if we can cancel anything. And I see, well, we've got one that's close here. These two are almost the same, except again, they're opposites. So we're going to have to take out a negative 1 again. Let's just take a negative 1 out down here. It doesn't matter which one we take a negative 1 out. So we get negative 3x plus 2y. And now they both have positive 2y's and negative 3x's. So those are gone. And we factored this down here, so that's gone. Okay, anything else that's the same? I notice that this has 2x's and that has 3x's. So when you cancel those out, then we're left with just 1x left down here. All right, so now we have to write what's left over here out of this mess. We've got nothing left on the top. So we have to put a 1 up there just because we need to have something in the numerator. And then on the bottom, usually you put the number first, so I've got to put the negative 1 first. And I also have that x, and then I put my parentheses. So 3x plus 2y. So again, this could be your answer. But again, you could have it distributed through as negative 3x squared minus 2xy. Either way, you could be having your answer. All right, go to your left page again then. And try this problem on your own and write down A, B, C, or D. Okay, so that's it for today's lesson.